Welcome back to the crypto simulation. Tonight I'm going to be talking about Ethereum versus Bitcoin, or ETHBTC as it's called, what to expect from it in the coming weeks and months. I did an ETHBTC video a little while ago, but I wanted to update things. We're at 0.056 Bitcoin right now, so let's take a look and see what's going on with this. Before I begin, however, just a reminder, nothing I tell you is financial advice. Any price projections or other information is for entertainment purposes only. You should always do your own research. Please remember to like, subscribe, follow, share, set notifications. That helps get my videos out to other people. And also be sure to check out the link to the Telegram and Twitter and everything else. I've got a Telegram called the Snake Pit, which you can join. We have about 100 members in there, and I will put a link to it in the video description and in the bio as well. So looking at ETH Bitcoin on the weekly, we can see that it's done something that it hasn't done in a while, which is it has gotten above its 10-week SMA. Now it is still below the 40-week SMA. I'm sure there's going to be a battle there, but we are above the 10, which is an encouraging sign. You can see we did wick all the way down here to around 0.048-ish, let's call it, which was a lower low, technically. So we've now put in a double bottom. Usually putting in a double bottom from a structural TA point of view is a bullish sign. So it would not be out of the question to expect ETH Bitcoin to start turning around at this point. However, we can't just base our analysis simply on moving averages. So I would like to take a look, maybe add some more moving averages in here, take a look at the Gaussian channel and a few other things to come to some kind of conclusion about what we think ETH Bitcoin might be doing and if it's a good time to be converting your Bitcoin over to Ethereum. Okay, I know this looks like a mess, but there's some important data here. We've got our moving average ribbon. You've already seen the 10 and the 40. Just to remind you, the 10 is the pink one, the 40 is the dark blue, the yellow is the 20, the light blue is the 50, the bright white is the 100, and the bright red is the 200-week SMA. So we still have some work to do. We do. We have just wicked up to the 200-week SMA. Luckily, we're above both the 20 and the 10, so we're getting some short-term strength, but we have some long-term weakness. That's what I'm seeing here. So ETH Bitcoin has a battle ahead of it. I don't think we're going to spring straight into ETH season right away. My base case for it in the last video was sometime in the spring, which coincidentally is around when the ETH ETF is supposed to be analyzed and potentially and very likely approved. The spot ET. Yeah. It's hard to say, isn't it? The ETH spot ETF. That's a lot of E's. So I don't know. Just seeing all these moving averages, you can actually tell a lot from this that ETH still has quite a bit of work to overcome. Possibly, though, the worst is over. That I'm not going to say with 100% confidence just yet, just looking at moving averages, but it does seem to me like it is possible ETH Bitcoin has bottomed. I said we had some work to do. I wasn't kidding. Look at the Gaussian channel for ETH Bitcoin on the weekly. We are still concave down. Concave down Gaussian channel, narrow. That reflects all this dumpage over here. So what we want to see is us come up and try to test the Gaussian channel, maybe somewhere in here, and then maybe we get rejected. It's possible. Or we could just kind of slice right up to it. Let's see what ETH Bitcoin has done in the past when it's been in a red Gaussian. If we go back to the last time that this happened, we can see that we stayed underneath it for quite some time. And then eventually we just kind of blasted up towards it, got rejected, blasted up towards the median line again. Finally, we broke through it. It took a while to do that. So if you look at when this Gaussian channel first turned red, this was in October of 2018. And we didn't come out of that red Gaussian channel. Let's see, what was that? That was October, right? No, it's like September 2018 roughly till about August 2020. So 2 years. It spent 2 years underneath or within a red Gaussian channel. Now, of course, in this case, we also put in a double bottom, which we're suspecting we may have put in now. At that point, we were able to recover and tested the Gaussian channel again in 2020. In this time, it was a green Gaussian. How about the time before that? Let's take a look. It's good to kind of see what's happened in the past. Oh, well, there wasn't much of a time before that, right? ETH came into existence during this bull market. So we don't have a lot of data to compare against, but I don't know. I mean, I find it kind of hard to believe that we just get off scot-free like this, and now we're just going to trend straight back up. It's possible that's what we do. I mean, look at the size of this Gaussian compared to what we have here. We've only been in this red Gaussian since May of 2023, so it hasn't even been a year. So, I mean, I am expecting this would inflect a bit sooner, diminishing returns, diminishing volatility, but to say that we've bottomed conclusively, say we may have bottomed, but to say that we have bottomed with any certainty would be irresponsible. So, my thoughts, of course, not financial advice, would be that it's okay to be scaling some of your Bitcoin into Ethereum, but I would still hold on to a good portion of your Bitcoin. I would not FOMO into ETH right now. I still think ETH has some more work left to do, and that's what I'm seeing at the moment. Of course, we're going to pull up a lot more data and kind of, extrapolate off of that. And by the end of the video, we'll be able to make some kind of more educated conclusion. Okay, I fit some Fibonacci logarithmic curves onto ETH Bitcoin, and I've just noticed that we have been wrestling with the 0.382 fib for quite some time, since about October of last year. So it's about 4 months that we've been wrestling with this. We've had many touch points on the 0.382 fib in ETH Bitcoin's history, but we have gone down as far as to the bottom line. We've done that before, done it quite a few times. So what makes this time different? I don't know. I mean, you tap enough times here, I think you could fall through. So I do worry that people are getting excited that we've bottomed here, but there's a chance that we just roll back over. We are above shorter term moving averages, but we're still stacked below the longer term ones. That's a lot of bearish momentum that's going to be holding us back. So while I think we may see ETH take a breath of fresh air, I have a hard time seeing it show any kind of long-term strength or medium-term strength against Bitcoin. I think it's quite likely that we take a trip down to the 0.2361 fib, and maybe even as far down as near the 0.1459. This chart looks heavy. This does not look bullish to me. Maybe it looks bullish when you zoom in, but when you zoom out, it sure doesn't look bullish to me at all. I would like to see, if ETH is going to be bullish, I'd like to see it hold at this 0.382 fib and maybe test the 0.5 fib. I don't mind if it gets rejected from there, but I don't have a great feeling in my gut that we're going to hold this 0.382 fib. It just doesn't seem likely to me. We could. Let's take a look at the the linear log regression lines. Is it okay maybe if I overlay them? Let me know in the comments if you want me to kind of keep them separate, but I'm going to overlay them. Okay, so I decided to take the fib lines off. I couldn't handle it visually, so how would you be able to handle it? So let's take a look at the linear log channel. This is like kind of like a log, another kind of log regression rainbow of sorts. Keep in mind the middle line is the mean, +1, +2, +3, -1, -2, -3. And we can see that ETH has spent a lot of time around its mean. It's, wicked all the way up to the +3 early on in 2017. I'm not sure that we'll see that again, possibly ever. Never say never, of course. But it looks like we have a date with this -1 log regression line. And if I had to guess, let's see, that's at around 0.46 or so. I think there's a chance we go below that. I do. Do I think we'll go all the way down here? No, I don't think we'll go to the -2. But I think we could find our final destination somewhere in here. This does not look strong, folks. What I'm also going to do now is run a linear regression channel on this. That's not logarithmic, it's linear, ±2 standard deviations. And let's see what this trend strength is of this entire trend. That will give us an idea of just how bearish things are on the big picture, which is always important to zoom out, folks. Don't get caught up with the day-to-day. Zoom out. When in doubt, zoom out. So let's put on a linear channel just on that area of the chart to see what kind of trend we're dealing with. Now, I guess there's some good news in here. According to linear regression, this is actually a pretty weak trend that we're in. So we have been bouncing around ±2 standard deviations from the mean, and it looks like we're heading back up again. How high can we get off this bounce? Well, I mean, I guess that depends if we bottomed or not. My base case is that we haven't bottomed. So far, I could change my mind when I'm looking at other things. But I think we could end up making it maybe to here. We could get rejected at this median line and then come back down, this channel could extend for a while, folks. It could extend to out, well, not that far. I don't think we're going that far. I wasn't even looking at the dates, but this channel could extend maybe till the spring or even the early summer before we get some resolution in another direction. The good news is it's a very weak trend. Okay, that's good news. That's a good sign. You can see right here, this is the bottom inside the channel. Maybe we don't whip down that low again. I don't know. I mean, I have no way of knowing, but I can't help but look at this and just see bearishness. That's just what I see. I love me some log regression. So if we look at the log regression lines, these are not Fibonacci's, just standard log regression. You can see that we are straddling the -1 or the -0.5 logarithmic regression line, which actually corresponded to that 0.382 fib log line, if I remember correctly. So do we hold this is the big question. I mean, we did get down about 1.5 standard deviations below the mean during 2019. So I mean, there is a chance that we've experienced enough diminished volatility that we could hold this, and that we're curling back up to the mean line and we're going to get above this. It is possible. I am not going to tell you that we are for sure bearish. We just saw that we're in a weak trend, a weak bearish trend. And this is kind of like a flag. It's kind of flagging. And we know flags usually break to the upside in very dramatic ways. So, and if you're not sure what I mean by the flag, here's the flag pole, and here's this long, ugly flag. That's bullish, like in the grand scheme of things. When you flag like that, everything this cycle has been flagging. I said cycle again. I'm not gonna admonish myself for it. I do that. All right, whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, looking at it from this perspective, this is why I like to look at things from many different perspectives. It does look like we could be bottoming. I mean, it almost looks like a miniature version of what happened here. It's like a very compressed version of the 2018 to 2021 fractal. And you can see here's the flagpole. We had a flagpole here too. See that flagpole? It was huge. You flagged and then off to the races we went. So looking at this log regression chart, it does look like we've bottomed. It looks like we're holding the -0.5 log line quite well. Okay, so that's a point for the bulls. It's 2 points for the bulls so far. Okay, the linear regression and just a standard log regression curve. And maybe the way I was looking at the other charts might have been too bearish. It's possible. And you know what? Further charting will show. I guess that red dot I had that was over here didn't really mean anything. I was confused why I was there, so I took it away. Anyways, I drew some standard fib lines here, and I'm about to throw a VRVP on here just to measure from the last major bottom to the major top in 2021. And you can see that originally we held the 236 fib as support, but lately it's been resistance. So we have yet to really test the 382. I would actually be quite surprised if we don't test this, but it's possible we don't. We could be carving out a bottom right here, and maybe we break through the 236. That would be really impressive for ETH to do that. But I don't know. We have this top back in February of 2021 that really hasn't been tested yet. So my base case here is we're probably going to get rejected off the 236. This would be the third time we get rejected. If that happens, it doesn't have to happen. But I just don't see the same strength that we had over here in 2022. This looks like it wants to break down to me. So this is another point for the bears. Let's pull out the VRVP and see what that looks like. I mean, it looks bearish. We are in an area of some support around 0.054-ish. But there's really no support down to the 382. So I think it's quite likely we're going to get faked out here and head down to the 382. And that may shock a lot of people if that happens, but don't be shocked. There's a lot of support. Well, I won't say a lot, but there's there's a fair amount of support once you start getting down to the 0.5. Do I think we're going to get down that far? It is possible. Maybe on a wick. We could get rejected here and then kind of head down, and I don't think we're going to go all the way to September, but we could come down in here. I don't know exactly how this is going to play out, if we're going to capitulate. But there's just really nothing but air here. Especially look at this volume bar. There's nothing. Right at the 382, there's like practically no support. I mean, a little bit, but practically none. So if we do fall, I think we fall hard and we capitulate. That's what I think. I think we get a final capitulation. It's going to freak people out, and that will be your final ETH buying opportunity. Similar to the VRVP, I have the Lux Algo low liquidity zone. We are currently not in it, but it looms below and it looms above. So we are in a fairly neutral area for volume, and actually quite bullish in this region with the green candles, bullish sentiment. Should we get a little bit higher, we have some bearish sentiment. And like I said, that's kind of my base case, is a rejection here and then a trip down, and this is low liquidity. Just like we sliced right up through it, I think there's a chance we capitulate right down through it too. Strong support down here. And this is consistent with the VRVP. This is another point for the bears. I think we take another trip into the low liquidity zone and probably slice right down through it and capitulate. You want to see something else that's bearish? I don't want to see it, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. Look at this trend line. This trend line extends all the way back to September of 2019, and it's had so many touch points, and we are straddling it right now. Does this look strong to you? This does not look strong to me. We already had a fake out. We'll be lucky if we even get another fake out. I think we're capitulating, folks. I just think that's what's going to happen. The all chart patterns has painted that we have been in a blue triangle. Ignore this falling wedge. And because that was from the last time. Double top, we know that. Double tops are traditionally bearish, just like double bottoms are traditionally bullish. The kind of double bottom that we have here, to me, just doesn't seem convincing enough that I think we're just going to blast off from here. I think, once again, we've broken out of this triangle. We're kind of in no man's land. The double top effects are in full force. I think we're going down. The bull bear power trend does not look good. Okay, we've been putting in higher lows on the bearishness, but to me this is probably just a temporary reprieve before we head back down again. Bears are firmly in control for the most part. They've been in control for ETH Bitcoin. They're less in control now, but they're still in control. Bears are in control. I don't see how we escape this mess unscathed. I think we head back down again. Another point for the bears. The ADX and DI shows crabbiness with decreasing trend strength. So really hard to read this one. We have a little bit of bullish convergence, which is not strong. We've been putting in higher lows on the bull trend, lower highs on the bear trend. But the ADX is sitting around 20, which is a strong trend, but it looks like it wants to head down further. So that would suggest to me that there's probably some more crabbing left, and this makes me want to look at Bollinger Bands. So I'm going to go back to the chart and take a look at the logarithmic Bollinger Bands and see what they're telling. So pulling up the logarithmic Bollinger Bands, we can see what the ADX and DI was showing us, which is some pretty serious compression here. We know what happens with compression. Usually we get big moves. Last time we were compressed, the move was to the downside. My guess is it's to the downside again. Sorry to say that, but that's just what I'm seeing. You're not going to get much information here either with the GF MACD. It's neutral, just totally neutral. It just printed a short signal, which is bearish. We don't know exactly how this is going to cross. We've been putting in all these like lower highs. We've also been putting in higher lows, so who the heck knows? That rhymed. Bullish divergence noted on the KZX RSI. We did temporarily get quite oversold here in October. However, we haven't been, looking back in 2019, we went into oversold quite a few times. I mean, we bounced and then went right back into it a few months later. We don't have much more history than that. So this behavior does not have to repeat exactly. It hasn't already. But to me, this just looks like probably a lower high and then coming back down again to be more oversold than we were before. That's again what I'm thinking. The average sentiment oscillator is pointing to a potential upside move on the weekly. Now, it doesn't have to be an upside move, but when you have green converging towards red like this, what usually happens? Like, let's take a look at what happens when green is converging towards red. Usually you get a bull move, and sometimes you get a big bull move. Now, what happened in 2019? We had this happen. We had a little bit of relief in February and April of 2019, only to fall back down and have to have another bear leg. And then we just chopped around for a while. We had a nice, we had some bearishness here, bullishness. So this one, with all this red, is definitely pointing to some relief coming for ETH. So if we do get a capitulation, I don't think it's going to come in the immediate future. I think we're going to have to wait a little while for it. It's also possible we don't get that capitulation. I'm not saying, look, I don't want it. I hold Polygon, quite a bit of it. I'm not really wanting ETH to capitulate against Bitcoin, but what I want doesn't matter. This is strong bullishness, though, for the ASO. And this is why it's always good to look at other indicators. And so this is at least pointing to it could be a weak reversal, right? It could be something like this. That's possible. We could just kind of chop around and not have any extreme strength, but we'll have to watch this one. This is one to definitely monitor. When it crosses, that's usually when you get the bigger moves. Now, the Gaussian ribbon is red and widening. We've seen this before. We saw this in 2018. It got red and it widened. And then it went green for just a short while in 2019. That was the relief that we saw on the ASO. And then it red and widened again, and that's when we had our final capitulation. We went red and widened in August of 22, had some green, and now we're red and widening again. Could this be it? Could this be the end? It's possible. It is certainly possible. And I'm not one to overlay fractals and say, oh, this happened here in 2019, it must happen again. No, it doesn't have to happen at all. This could very well be the bottom. I've said that. But this is not convincing to me. This is not, yes, it's nice to see us starting to slice through the red Gaussian, but we've done that before. We did that here, and we just fell right back down. So until I see some follow through, I'm not convinced that this is a bullish development. Short-term bullish, yes. I think we're going to see some short-term bullishness with the Bitcoin. Medium-term bullish, not seeing that. The Trix bubble actually looks bearish. When you have the green above these other moving averages, that looks bearish usually, but it's hard to tell what's even going on in here. It kind of looks weird, actually. You've got this, fake out to the downside almost, and it's kind of curling back up. I'm not sure this momentum can really be sustained, though. I think maybe we get a lower high and then come back down again. That would be my base case with the Trix histogram. Or actually, no, this is the Trix bubble. Sorry, there's a lot of Trix things. And the triple exponential moving average itself is stuck down here below zero in bearish territory. This is where the bears live. We haven't been above the zero line since March of 2023, and we didn't, this was kind of a dead cat in September 2022. Have we bottomed? It's possible. Back in 2019, we spent, we got down to, I think around, negative 250. Where are we now? We're at negative 65. We do expect to be putting in a relatively higher low to 2019. We shouldn't be going down this low. Something's wrong if we are. But maybe to this low of negative 171 or somewhere in there. I think that I think it's likely we curl up here, but maybe we'll need to put in another lower high and just come right back down again for one last time. And I guess, that would mark our true bottom, perhaps, if that happened. Sometimes it's nice to just look at a simple MACD. We got bullish divergence back in January, but this has not been a very convincing bullish trend. Look at the MACD here in September. Look at the MACD in July of 2021. It's been just getting weaker and weaker, right? We're also seeing that the bearish momentum has not been terribly strong either. This is kind of reflecting what we've been seeing. This looks similar to the Trix, right? It's reflecting kind of what we've been seeing in the other indicators, which is, yes, we have some bullish momentum right now, but it looks like more like a mean reversion than it does the start of a new bull trend. In terms of relative volatility, we're about as stagnant as you can get. We're almost at 50. So it looks like we've been putting in some higher lows, which, again, this is to me some kind of mean reversion. I'm just not sure that we're seeing a resolution to this downtrend of volatility. So my expectation, maybe coming into April, things look really good and we're volatile to the upside, and then we just get rejected down into May again, right before the true start of ETH season, which my base case, if you listen to my last video, is late spring, early summer. I think this is the summer of Ethereum is kind of what my base case has been. DeFi summer part 2, Ethereum summer. I said it in my previous ETH video. I'm saying it again. That's just what I'm seeing. But I think we are heading into a mini ETH season right now, where you're going to see some ETH projects light up. And who knows what the reasons for this are? I don't know. But maybe this is the hype of the ETH ETF being priced in early. And then by the time we actually get it, it's like a little bit of a sell the news that happens. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up at this point. But that's my rationalization for what I'm seeing. I'm sure you could fit a narrative to this data that's different than what I see. You can see that the bullish divergence is showing up on the wave trend with that little green dot. The kernel moving average is starting to trend up again. But again, like, I don't know. I just kind of see, and you can see the oversold region here starting to light up. I just kind of see this maybe rolling over once again to our final low. And I mean, it's not altogether that different from what happened here. It's like a less volatile version of that. And you could see in 2019, we spent a lot of time kind of just screwing around with the zero line. So I don't know that we're necessarily done going down. I think there may be some more downside here as well. I think I've analyzed enough data to be able to form a conclusion. And if you've watched this far, I'm sure you can tell what I'm going to say. My forecast, based on the data that I've analyzed at this moment in time, on February 20th, and we won't say what time it is. We'll say it's like 11:47 in the morning, Universal UTC. Oh, it is. It says it right down there. I was just calculating it in my head. ETH Bitcoin looks like it needs more downside, but what I think is going to happen first is we're going to get a short-term burst of relief, and everybody's going to think that it's ETH season. We're all going to get really excited, and then I don't know if it's going to be because of a Bitcoin dump or a Bitcoin pump. I don't know what's going to happen with Bitcoin. I can't put my head in that space at the moment, but something's going to happen with Bitcoin, and then ETH is going to, in my opinion, dump against Bitcoin and have a final capitulation, and that'll be the end of it. So I think we can look forward to some more green with ETH and ETH altcoins. They're stretching their legs. It's like they're waking up to go to the bathroom, but then they're going to go back to sleep again, right? And then only to wake up for good for another run, a sustained run. So I think this flag that we've been forming is probably going to flag some more and, resolve, in my opinion, to the downside. That's just what I see happening. But that should be enough. If we take one more trip back down, I don't think we're going to have to go down further after that. And we can just FUD people out, right? You need to have that like final scare, and we haven't had that yet with ETH Bitcoin. Like, we just haven't had it. It's been a slow grind down. Ethereum has been very strong against Bitcoin for so long, and what a testament to the strength of ETH and ETH dominance and everything. But in the end, the king will rise again, and we know Bitcoin has been on a tear lately. It's been doing really well, and ETH can't quite keep up. Like, he keep up in these short bursts, but it just isn't its time yet. That's my opinion. That is not financial advice. That is not something you should trade, unless you agree with me and you feel like that's the best decision for yourself. In which case, have at it. But that's your responsibility, not mine. I'm not an oracle. So if I were holding large amounts of Bitcoin, like 100% Bitcoin, I would for sure be offloading some of it at this point, just as a hedge against this potentially being a double bottom. I don't know what percentage I would offload. I guess for me, maybe 20 or 30% at most would be what I would offload, and I'd keep the remaining 60 or 70, 80% or so. I would probably go into this next month or two Bitcoin heavy and anticipating some kind of correction. Bitcoin hasn't had a meaningful correction in like nearly a year. And okay, it had one in August and September, but that wasn't really much of anything. It just hasn't had one, and we know mean reversion, folks, doesn't only work to the upside, it also works to the downside. So Bitcoin needs to cool off at some point this year. When this ETF hype dies down, it's going to do it. It's going to cool off. I think so. Can't be up only. It just doesn't happen. So, but before that happens, I do think Bitcoin has a lot of strength going for it. Okay, don't get me wrong. February, my base case for it was that February was going to close red. I remember saying that at the beginning of the month. I'm getting less confident in that thesis for Bitcoin, but March being red, I'm kind of thinking, let's move the goalposts. That's what we have to do with TA, because sometimes our projections don't work out. If they did, if my projections work out 100% of the time, what am I doing here? I'm the richest man in the world, right? So I'm not arrogant. I know that I'm going to make mistakes, and I own up to them. I'll learn from them, move on. That's what you do. But so far, and I'm going on about this a lot longer than I really wanted to, but if you want to look at a horizontal resistance, it looks like you knock enough times. This looks a little bit like Polygon's chart, doesn't it? Like Polygon against Bitcoin. It's like a less volatile version of that. And what's Polygon been doing? The same thing, right? Bounce. Well, I just think you're going to break through this to the downside and resolve somewhere around these volume levels. That's just what I think is going to happen. Probably in April or so. I don't know if it will be that long. Maybe it happens in March. But yeah, so you heard it here. If it happens, congratulate me on my beautiful forecasting. If it doesn't happen, feel free to tell me what I probably got wrong. I'm open to learning. I want to get better at this. So, all right. Well, that being said, thank you for joining me in the really, really wild crypto simulation. Sure seems like a simulation the more time you spend in it. And don't take anything I said as financial advice or recommendations or anything like that. I do this for entertainment purposes and educational purposes. That's it. I'm not a financial advisor. If you want to talk to me more, talk to others, join us in our free Telegram group, the Snake Pit. We seem to be hovering right around 100 subscribers over there. It is free. And I have the link in the description and to the video, and also link in my bio. Also, can you please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you're not already? Like, comment, and share if you want to see my content get out to more people. If you enjoy my style, doing the likes, comments, and shares and subscribes. And I know you hear this from all the YouTubers, but it's true. It helps get us out there. So, whether you're posting me on Twitter or sharing me with a Discord group or a Telegram group or your friends and family, all of that is greatly appreciated, and it will help my channel to grow, to get more reach, and to impact more people like you. So with that said, we've been going for just a little over a half hour. I think it's time to call it a night. See you next time in the crypto simulation. Bye.